Happy
Hi,
New
Sally.
Year, motherfucker. What the?
Is it
No,
not Sally?
no. This is just a Happy New Year's to Instagram. Idiot.
I don't understand why you
What is up, Watch fam? I am Christian, the curator of the Theo and Harris Watch Shop.
And I am Michael, part of the Earth Tone Boys.
So what is that, our band
We're like
name?
a chalky
Is that our
brown.
boy band name?
Yeah.
I like that shirt, though.
This is a jacket.
No, what's a shacket?
Oh, this.
It's just everything's a shacket. Everything's a shirt jacket.
What's more of a shirt jacket? It's more
Exact.
convenient.
It's ridiculous. Anyway, again, Christian, Michael, we sign on here on YouTube once a week, and
Yep.
we talk about watch news.
Yeah.
What's going on out there in new watches, vintage watches. We're starting the new year off with a little bit, with some structure.
Yep.
We're actually reintroducing an old series we used to do back on the channel called In the Metal. What is up, Watch fam? Happy Tuesday, and welcome to In the Metal, which is
Ancient.
hysterical.
Yep.
We're gonna get into that in a little while. But what are the subjects today? It's
Today we have a good little mixing of things. The main topic, which we will dive into, is
Fucking
you could talk
Rolex.
about for the price of Rolex, and this whole watch bubble thing just seems to
and
be
it's
getting.
not super vague. Like the Tiffany OP is this is ridiculous.
Yes,
During
yes.
Christmas break, all I kept looking at my phone and seeing these OPs
400% increase over a month.
and
2
saying to
months.
myself, what the fuck is going on? Go spend time with your families.
As you're buying Gucci loafers, you're
Yeah.
like, these prices are insane.
So we'll get into that in a second, but yeah, the craziest kind of like fluctuation in Rolex watches lately came from the most singularly unexpected source.
Yep.
So that we're going to be talking about a Patek Advanced Research Minute Repeater, which is pretty wild.
Yes.
And then we're talking about JLC and their relationship with Vincent Van Gogh, which is a really interesting, not a collaboration, of course, but like a homage. Like,
Horrible marketing. They're
Yeah.
like, we collaborated with
like,
Vincent
no,
Van Gogh.
you didn't. No, you didn't. But they have like a one of those people that speak to the dead.
They have the Long Island
The
medium.
Long Island medium with the hair and the nails. And, I love, there were many things, when I would go on dates and the moments that I said, I don't think I can bite my tongue here, even if it's to an end that we all, even if it's to an end that I have in mind, I can't bite my tongue. And the Long Island medium was one of them. If she would have come up, I couldn't, I got to a point in dating where I could get over the whole Zodiac thing.
Okay,
I was
yeah,
able
yeah.
to not get nasty about it. Politics, never.
Politics is not a really
Always-
good one for you. Woody Allen's not a good one for you.
Yeah. There's a lot of bad ones.
Risk
How about you?
resistance.
Anything like with women where you couldn't bite your tongue?
No, I can bite my tongue through the whole thing, but immediately I'll ghost.
Yeah.
I'm like the little like a ice
You call
fishing
me
flag.
out. Yo, this girl's fucking nuts.
Exactly. Do you know ice fishing flag?
No.
It's like held down like this when a fish bites the line. It just like flings off like this, so you know there's a fish on the line. That goes up in my head, and I'm like, okay, that's over. But
That's
I don't pull up the line yet.
That's great. So we'll do one topic first, or one or two topics, and then we'll get into in the metal. Also, today's episode of Keeping a Straight Face is sponsored by Manscaped. How that
Your parents
happened,
watch
I
this
have no
video?
idea. My mom watches this video,
Yeah, mine
and the fact
too.
that this video is sponsored by
Manscaped.
the world's leading ball trimmer is beyond me.
Same.
For the love of your balls, check out Manscaped. We'll get to that later. Unbelievable.
Unreal.
I like the product. It's just such an embarrassing.
I like how you
I'm
just-
actually hot.
Me too.
I'm
I hate
warming
this.
up.
Is
I
money
hate it
really
so
even
much.
worth it?
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, we'll get to that in a little while. But
Yeah.
Patek. Advanced Research Minute Repeater. You put this on today's docket on the list. So
I did.
Dive into it. Tell me why I should.
Look
care
what
about
I
this
put in bold after you say that.
Yeah, boring.
Christian, to get ready to say boring
Yeah.
because this is
I don't care about this.
Patek Philippe's Advanced Research Minute Repeater. The articles and the things is basically like, thanks to Patek's incredible R&D, they have been able to make a minute repeater naturally louder and have a richer tone. Which is what I hear with every single minute repeater that ever gets released.
Yes.
It is naturally louder and has a richer tone.
Right.
This is basically they're saying they have these silicone wafers they're hitting,
Okay.
which make the sound come out richer and sound better. But that's why I figured you basically say boring because they talk about all the research and what
Yeah.
they do. I feel like most people would also kind of glaze over, unless you're like an acoustics engineer. Like, even I usually get into the fine details of everything.
Yeah.
But I was like, this is just...
Yeah.
It sounds better and it's louder. That's the main thing.
Yes.
What I do like, though, which I put at the bottom, is the size of it is not a minute repeater size that I'm used to seeing.
Right.
40 millimeters
Yep.
and 11.1 millimeters thick.
Yep.
That's a wearable watch.
That's a wearable watch, for sure. And I think, so, kind of what I get when I see a watch like this, one, I don't like the design. I don't like this watch.
Yes.
I like the case. Obviously, I like the minute repeater slide and all that stuff. I don't like the dial. I just don't like it. And that's such
Yeah.
a superficial, it's such a superficial remark, but I think it matters, right? I don't particularly care how interesting something is if I don't like the way it looks. I'm not, for me, there has to be at least balance. And I definitely
Right.
fall more on the beauty end than I do on the technical end. But there's got to be at least balance. So that already, I'm a little bit turned off. So far as technology is concerned, and anything, I mean, design as well, but technology specifically, because it is so, it's difficult to understand. Right?
Oh, yeah,
it's difficult
yeah.
to understand.
100%.
I don't care unless it's explained in an interesting way. I don't.
Yeah, right.
This technology, advanced research, and Patek's advanced research, history, I think every year or every 2 years they should release a campaign that explains to the world
Yes.
what their lab has done, why it matters, and how this is the cutting edge of wristwatch technology.
Right.
Otherwise, I don't care.
Otherwise, it feels gimmicky.
It feels
because it's
gimmicky.
poorly said.
It's also like, so why are you doing this? But,
Right.
Again, it's back to like marketing, it's back to storytelling, but show me some of the faces behind this. Let me see their passion.
Compare, show stuff. Like, that's cool.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I want to see how excited they are about it, and I genuinely believe that excitement would be contagious.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah, oh, yeah.
Like, even with anything, like, a lot of people don't like wine or whatever, or tile. But when you hear someone that's really passionate about it talk about it, you can't help but to be like, that's fucking cool.
That's neat.
Maybe that is cool.
Yeah.
Which always bothered me, like with school and stuff, how so many history teachers were boring. I'm like, how could you teach history? Like
it really is.
Are you fucking stupid?
It's pretty insane to like. I have one history teacher that was great, and I remember just being like, "Oh, this is cool." But all the other teachers, I was like, "This sucks."
This sucks. How could you fuck up history?
Yeah, right. Well, we do a really good job in any direction.
Yeah, I'm just like, it's, I don't know, it's a shame.
This does, real quick before we get off the topic, this reminds me of, have you seen like Tesla wheels or like any EV vehicles wheels, or rims, I should say?
No.
They're all optimized to just like let air slip past them.
Oh.
And this reminds me of that, because the number one complaint with most of these people is the wheels are really ugly. Look up Hyundai electric vehicle, because it's the exact same design.
Is it? Oh, yeah.
See those right there?
Oh, is this one in
Hyundai's electric
Spider-Man? Wasn't this in
Ioniq
Spider-Man?
5? I haven't seen the Spider-Man yet.
Neither have I. I saw the commercial for this car, and it was in Spider-Man.
Oh, really? Yeah. So they're electric Ioniq 5 crossover. Those wheels remind me of the Patek, and they say it's to increase mileage and stuff like that, which is one thing, but it is like you made it ugly for efficiency there. This is basically the same way. To a lot of people, I'm sure this isn't attractive, but it's for efficiency, but it doesn't make it okay.
Yeah.
And interestingly enough, I always looked at those wheels, side note, as if they make your electric vehicle more efficient, why do they do that on gas vehicles forever?
Dude, I don't know. I think it's all bullshit, too.
Yeah, I don't even think electricity is real.
No, I don't care about that. Okay, how does it feel when none of what you just said registered? I'm just kidding.
I'm used to it by now. You're like, he said, I'm boring.
Okay, so
Next up.
JLC Vincent Van Gogh. JLC has released quite a few watches. Here are a couple of them with Vincent Van Gogh, like co-branding, but homage, his paintings, and it's quite beautiful. A lot of these watches are enameled and they're absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
But they bring I suppose one thing to mind, which is, I don't know, it's a little bit weird. I don't know, is you've got Van Gogh. Mm-hmm. And then you've got someone else mimicking Van Gogh. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like there's it's different in music, right? Because like when you listen to, Beethoven or Bach, you're listening to other orchestras perform this work.
Yeah, right.
So there shouldn't be a double standard here, but there is a little bit.
I see what you're saying.
It's like, oh, so this isn't Starry Night. This is your Starry Night. You painted Starry Night, so you copied it.
Yeah, I didn't even actually think of that. Like, but they say like we brought all these people in to talk to us about the painting and this and that. It's like, okay, so you copied Van Gogh.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. What's interesting, though, here is this one with the flowers on it.
Yeah.
That was for Van Gogh's 125th anniversary.
Cool.
In 2015.
Cool.
Now, this new series, it's 3 painters now they reproduced.
Oh, okay,
Gustave Courbet, I'm going to mess all these up, Vincent van Gogh, and Gustave Klimt.
Mm-hmm.
All three of the paintings that JLC is recreating are lost or stolen.
Wow.
They got them back.
Wow.
And all of these artists were around during the inception of the Reverso.
Wow, how interesting.
That's cool, right?
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, I like that a lot. I think that's cool. I mean, you know, I don't know. I doubt these watches are very important to the JLC bottom line. I just think it's cool that they do it. You know, even though I think that it brings up an interesting double standard, but I think it is beautiful. You know.
Oh yeah.
JLC's enamel work, I mean, is consistently really interesting.
Yeah, right.
You know, and a lot of brands. I like Patek's Calatravos, but I feel like JLC just, I don't know, maybe a little bit louder about it, you know?
JLC is definitely louder about it.
Yeah.
I feel like Patek will be like, we did that. Well, Patek has some really loud things too, but JLC consistently is like, we're gonna do whatever we can do. Whatever's the best.
I do think it's cool, and I think that maybe, you know, no watch does it better than the Reverso, because the whole idea is this, you know, this opposite side or whatever, the watch that functions, you know, obviously the Reverso is a watch,
Yep.
then a protective, you know, side in theory,
Yes.
that has been appropriated for design.
Yeah.
And what better design than some of these painters?
Yeah.
You know?
Also, I will say, it doesn't make any sense if the artists were active when the Reverso was introduced in 1931, considering Van Gogh was dead.
Mm-hmm.
So I got this from a reliable source, but that part is not correct.
Gotcha.
I was thinking about that now. It's like 1931 plus 125. That's not happening.
That doesn't make any sense.
Yes.
Good job.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
One thing I wanted to say about Van Gogh before we move on to our Manscaped ad is
Well, and the big subject, Rolex.
Yeah, well, yes, more big subject. So I didn't take art history classes in school, and I almost wish I did.
Yeah.
You know, because art history is really interesting.
Yeah.
But so I don't know a lot about Van Gogh at all. It's actually, I know embarrassingly little about Vincent Van Gogh.
He's a movie out.
I saw that, Loving Vincent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't see it, but I heard about it. But I have read a lot of the letters that he wrote to his brother, and his brother's name Theo, and they're really, really, which is kind of funny, huh?
Yeah.
Theo, and because of
I got
And if you guys ever have a chance, like, go on. I mean, you can buy the letters. You could buy them on like eBay, like some pretty old prints, and they're really cool. It's a couple $100 for all the letters, but you can go online, and a lot of them are available, and you can just read them. And he wrote about a ton of stuff. Wrote about, you know, politics. Wrote about love. Wrote about depression. Wrote about everything basically. Nature. Really, really cool. The guy was an amazing writer. So it's funny, like, even though, and the letters are famous. It's not like, you know,
it's not a secret.
You know, it's not a secret, yeah.
Right.
But I don't know.
You know the guy who's like, send you his artwork.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You know, which is cool. But look it up because they're really, really beautiful. Yeah, seriously, do that.
Do it right now.
Plus, it's like cool to quote on a date. You know, been there, done that. You know.
She's like, so did he die by those kids that were younger than him with a gun, or is it some other reason? You're like,
wait,
what?
What the fuck are you talking?
First off, he's not even dead.
Yeah, right.
I'm reading his letters.
I'm celebrating his 125th birthday. All right, sounds good. So we're gonna get into Rolex in a minute. We're gonna get into vintage watches, and then ultimately Rolex, and this, what I think is way fucking too much, total absurdity, abuse of the market, just like Chrono 24 being a piece of shit company in many ways. That's not their fault, but they've got a role to play
by
here.
Not putting a cap on things.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But before we do, let's swallow our pride and let's talk about Manscaped.
Let's get scaping.
So a lot of companies have been asking us to sponsor videos, and we weren't doing it last year. We had too much on our plate, but this year we're saying, okay, let's make time. So Manscaped did send, a lot of companies are sending us big boxes of stuff, and if I get around to trying it, and if I like it, then I'll say, okay, we can do it.
And oh boy, did you like Manscaped.
Well, I actually, you know, it's an embarrassing thing to talk about, but proper grooming is important, and you can't tell by my face at the moment, because I'm a little bit, do you like my mustache, by the way, at the moment? It is kind of...
Here's what I said to you before. I see your mustache, but I don't notice it. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't look bad.
Right.
It doesn't stand out where I'm like, oh, mustache. I'm
Right.
like, but he has a mustache.
Yeah, right. But anyway, Manscaped is famous obviously for their trimmers for your for your more delicate parts.
Yep.
Naturally.
Yeah.
But also on the separate trimmers for the facial regions.
Your rougher
By the way,
parts.
do you use two trimmers? I do.
Really? I just use one single blade.
What is wrong with you? You're like,
I use a single
I use my straight
unpolished
razor.
blade. Yeah.
So they sent over their Performance Package 4.0. They sent over their lawnmower, which is a tactically named body trimmer, but it's actually quite nice.
Yep.
Also included was their Weed Whacker, which is a nose and ear hair trimmer. I don't have ear hair, thank God.
I don't yet.
I have hair on like my back. Are you getting that too?
I've never looked.
You should look. But I do have a lot of nose hair, so I've been using
Really?
that a lot. Oh yeah. You don't.
I can't tell with Manscaped.
Yeah, no, I'm serious.
I do
though.
see it. Yeah,
I
wow.
do have a lot of nose hair, so that's actually been quite useful. I basically tried out a significant portion of the Manscaped collection, for lack of a better word, and I don't know, it was delicate and necessary. I mean, all bullshit aside, I mean, would I prefer to be talking about home delivery meals right now? In theory, yes,
yeah.
Or Audible.
Right,
in theory, yes. Books are less of an awkward thing. I wouldn't be sweating right now if we were talking about books.
But it's not to say it's a product.
But
that
if we were
you
talking
don't
about
use.
books, I also would have a significant problem elsewhere. So thanks to Manscaped for the products, I recommend them thus far, and we'll check back in a couple of weeks when they'll be useful again.
Yeah.
But anyway, back to Rolex. So a year and a half ago, Rolex announced a whole line of Oyster Perpetuals in a
Yes.
bunch of beautiful colors: yellow, green, coral red, and Tiffany blue. Was there anything else? Pink. And pink. So everyone was really excited when this happened because it reminded us of Stella Dials.
It's a company that typically is very reserved and conservative with their models, doing something fun.
Yep.
And kind of throwing it back.
And at their most approachable price point.
Yes.
The Oyster Perpetual
Yes.
is their most approachable watch. So.
Rolex thought, how can we also make the OPs impossible to get?
And as soon as they came out, they were kind of like difficult to get.
Yep.
And then once this whole, Patek Tiffany Nautilus thing happened, the watch sold for $6.5 million.
Yep.
The blue dial, which is, in my opinion, the least attractive.
I would say
like
so.
the green, yellow, and coral much more than the blue.
Same.
Skyrocketed. Now they're being listed on Chrono 24 up to $116,000, with most of the 36 millimeter watches in the $30,000 range, which is unbelievable.
And this, wait, go back to that real quick. This isn't a, like, there's one, we have 35,000, 25,000, 100,000, 55,000,
there
50,000.
are dozens on Chrono 24 above $30,000.
Oh, yeah.
Dozens.
50, 50, 50, 50, 40. Like,
So it's like, is this a big? Is it a joke? And that's kind of where I end up. Like, is this a joke that everyone's playing?
this is a blue dial Rolex. This is not Tiffany stamped. This is not a Tiffany collaboration.
These watches are $5,600 retail.
This is
36
a
millimeter.
blue watch.
$5,600 selling for over $30,000 or being listed for. My question is, what are they really selling for? When's the last time one sold and at what price?
I mean, because you're on the second page right now looking at this.
Yeah, right.
It's not there's 5 where it's like you're an idiot. Everybody that had that watch immediately switched and adopted to that price.
Exactly right. Which 31 millimeter is $18,000.
Which makes me think some were selling that it went out. Because if these weren't selling, people would stop and be like, okay, this guy's an idiot.
You would think, or they're all just forcing it until people start buying.
Which kind of goes to your bigger point of, should there be someone to be like, you can't list them for that much?
Listen, I don't know, man. I mean, of course it's legal to sell it for whatever the f*** you want. It's obviously legal. Like, I believe that, obviously in supply and demand, blah, 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 blah. But, like, I don't know. Chrono 24 specifically has become a tool that has allowed for, I think, it's been a tool that's been used for quite a bit of deception in the market, and I think it's been used as a vehicle for, I think, kind of fraud.
Artificial bubbling.
It's fraud. I mean, that's what it is. You're creating an artificial market. I feel. And an artificial market would be when all of the watches are owned by a small handful of people, and they all decide at the same time to change the price radically,
I see that.
And the price does not reflect what people are paying, but it reflects rather what dealers are asking. But at scale, it's no. I mean, I'm trying to trying to be fair about it, but this is
It's like
horrible.
it's like looking at it's watches, so it's a lighter topic, but it's like looking at a corrupted market immediately. You're just like, wow. We'll go on. Can you go on eBay real quick? See if there's still if it.
Oh yeah,
it's
it's the same thing.
Same thing.
Yeah, $40,000.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah.
And then the question is, who's buying it? Who
Is there? Yeah, right. Is there a sold feature on Chrono? Or is it just eBay?
But it's marked sold, so it wouldn't even matter. You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of manipulation that can go on here, and I think it's bullshit. It really is f***ed up.
Oh yeah.
So I think this is a shame. I think it's bad. I think it's really bad. I have no problem. Sorry, but I have no problem. Listen, the watch is $5,600. I wouldn't pay 10, but I get it. Yeah. Like, okay, that's an understandable markup.
100% increase in value. We're close.
Right. Okay, fine. But $30,000, and I think that dealers are robbing people. I really do. Yeah. I really do. I think that all of these dealers own these watches between $6,000 and $8,000.
100%.
And they're literally slapping on $20,000 or $30,000 margins on them, and praying to God that someone is dumb enough to buy it. And that person that's dumb enough to buy it, I genuinely thinks that one person believes that other people are paying this. And they probably believe that, well, that's what they cost now.
That's the market.
Up.
Or it's the person that sees in stocks, they see something going up, and they're like, I gotta get this because this is going to quadruple in price.
Yeah, right.
And they further push it up.
Right.
Because this is also, if this is a thought experiment right now, they just put this watch up because Patek and Tiffany, that will become the new norm. Yep. Where it's like, okay, it worked for that. All Rolexes, we're going to add a $20,000 price tag to tomorrow. You guys ready?
It's fucked up. It really is, and I think this is. I mean, just one example, but this was a particularly bad example. This is a particularly offensive example, in my opinion. And we've seen a lot of this shit happen in the last couple of years, but this is really bad. There's so many of them. There's so many. I mean, listen, when you've got a couple of watches out there, and maybe let's say 3, or a lot of these vintage markets, you've got a couple of watches, a small handful of watches.
Yeah.
And let's say those 5 watches can be owned by 3 people, and those 3 people aren't necessarily in concert. They just all want to raise the price, or they're matching each other or whatever. It's not as crazy. That seems like a more natural kind of course. But when you've got dozens and dozens or even hundreds of watches out there, all jumping like this overnight, that is a concert of deception, and that is f***ed up. And you guys are all.
Do you see a little flag for the watch bull market because of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people are like, this could be the nail in the coffin for a lot of people, like the straw that breaks their back.
You're looking for a bubble, there's the needle in your bubble.
Yeah, that's f***ed up.
Yeah,
it's
right.
really f***ed up, So, and it's a shame.
Yeah.
It's just sad. I like the coral and the green the most. Those are the 2 watches that I would have loved. I mean, at 56, I think they were like a steal. Even at 8,000, that was a good watch. It was a good price.
Yeah.
Yeah. But and I might have paid that. It's possible I would have paid that. But this is just crazy.
8,000, you're kind of like, it's the market. Like, it's the market demand. Right. Someone says that's 40,000.
Yeah, right.
What?
At 8,000, you're competing against other buyers that are kind of being somewhat rational, and you're competing against other buyers.
Everybody wants it. I get it. It's demand. People want it. There's not enough.
But when the price goes from 5,600 or 8,000 to 35, you're not competing against buyers. You're competing against you're participating in a fraudulent market.
100%. 100%.
For sure. So anyway, that's screwed up. That's screwed up. So without any further ado, let's get back into old T&H.
Oh, yeah.
Let's get back into basically one of the series, or like the series, next to Ask T&H, that like this channel was built on.
Let's go back to, it's kind of like Gary Vee, but for watches.
Let's get back to In the Metal.
Yeah.
Boom. It's the ugliest trade I've ever seen. A few weeks ago, Michael and I recorded a Christmas episode of our lives, and instead of talking about the news, which is what we usually do, we talked about vintage watches. And I hadn't done that in a while because we've been talking about a lot of other things, but it made me really nostalgic, and it reminded me, how much I kind of miss that and need that in my life. Right? Vintage watches are what ignited my passion for this hobby. It wasn't modern stuff. It wasn't ceramic. It wasn't modern tourbillons and Silicon Valley. It wasn't all that. It was old watches because of the history, because how important this industry was to the world in a very functional way, from railroads to the moon. Wristwatches mattered in the 20th century, and as such, they were manufactured so well. So, without any further ado, we're back. This is In the Metal. Good, how are you? Happy New Year. So we're starting with 3 watches today, 2 of which are, while not exactly for my personal collection, they're pretty close. A Rolex Datejust with a just incredible blue dial you're going to see in a second, a Cartier Santos Carré, and then a Rolex Sea Dweller, which I don't own one, but I don't know why, I really should. So this is the Datejust on my wrist right now. It's from 1971, it's a reference 1603, which means it has a steel engine-turned bezel, and that's not something that Rolex makes anymore. These bezels are of kind of a bygone era. They're very industrial. I really love them. But really, it's the dial that blows us away here. Rolex manufactured quite a few different colors of blue over the course of the years, but this is basically identical to the blue that I own. It's a light blue. It's matte, but it blows up in the sun. This particular example has a bit of patina around the minute track. I happen to love that, and I put my money where my mouth is because my Omega Seamaster also has, nasty patina, as Michael from Cape Cod would say, wicked nasty. What's wicked nasty patina? This is a non-luminous example, meaning that there were no tritium plots on this watch when it was manufactured back in '71, and as such, there are none on the watch today. At the time, it was because these watches were supposed to be a little bit more formal. The idea of luminous material was kind of associated with sport back then. Now it's on everything. But anyway, that's a rare little note. I paired it with a medium brown leather strap, which I think pairs really well. But this watch would go with just about anything. It would go with, come to mind, our Mojave strap, manufactured right down in Texas. It's like a yellow, very natural ostrich color, or even our LR strap, which is cork, because I drink too much wine, and it's an homage of my dad, who also drinks too much wine, so kind of cool. The Santos Carré is, in my view, the sports watch of the 80s, if you were the money-grubbing type. Introduced in 1978, it was actually the watch that Gordon Gekko wore in Wall Street. Its lines are sharp and aggressive. The screws throughout are a total, oxymoron and luxury. This watch is an original piece of this industrial movement in luxury in the 1970s and 80s. Think of the Gold Submariner, the Royal Oak, Cartier's Juste Clou and Love. Very specific piece of history, and this is an original part. This watch was and remains till today kind of it just feels that way. It's sleek, but it's loud. It's super comfortable, but it's rich. My dad went to college with the dude, a real trust fund kid. The license plate to his brand new BMW was Snowman. He wore this watch. That's how legit this thing is. Last but certainly not least, a watch that I don't own but really should. This is a Sea Dweller. It's a big boy's watch, a real deep diver. This is the first watch to feature a helium escape valve, which releases the gases trapped inside of the case during decompression while diving. Another example of Rolex's dedication to technology and exploration. Still 40 millimeters, just like a Submariner, but thicker, and because it's less common, I think it's more interesting. It has that history too. I love these watches, and every time I get an opportunity to buy one, I do. Everything I just showed you, I personally handpicked, right? I sought out all over America and actually all over the world, and I brought them here to the Theo and Harris shop. This is old school T&H. We're back to vintage. I'm so happy to be doing this. So yeah, all of these watches I just showed you, these exact examples on my wrist, are available in the Theo and Harris watch shop. So don't walk, run. Done. What do you think?
Wow.
That was kind of fun, wasn't it?
Vintage T&H.
Old school, man.
Yes,
OS.
sir.
I like it. That was cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for watching. I hope that made you guys feel somewhat nostalgic. We're going to be doing those probably, once every 2 weeks or something like that. So, yeah. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for watching.
Thank you all for wrist watching.
Thank you.